So much for staying with us. Focus on the tertiary education system in Nigeria, admission process and procedure problematic for possible resumption. I will be entertaining two sets of guests to deal with this issue. First, I will be hearing from a Vice-Chancellor of a university in Nigeria, and after I'll be hearing from the non-academic staff union and, of course, the senior staff union of universities in Nigeria. But the Prof is already staying in this studio with me here. Reverend Father Hyacinth Ichoku, Vice-Chancellor of Veritas University, is a professor of economics. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much
for joining us.
Thank you.
Yes, it's a problem we have to resolve. Irregular or distorted academic calendar. The O-level examinations were supposed to have come earlier in April. Yeah. They were delayed. JAMB exam had taken place. Results are ready. Universities, perhaps some of them are ready to begin the admission process. Perhaps some are not, possibly the public universities. But you'll be meeting with the JAMB later today to take a look at all these problems with a view to coming out with solutions. What do you make out of the entire picture?
Well, it's been on for quite some time. Apart from the COVID issue, the irregular admissions processes, irregular commencement of educational institutions. It's been always there because of the frequency of strikes, either in the public universities, for instance, either the academic staff on strike or the non-academic staff or the junior academic staff. All these compound the problem of education in Nigeria.
So it's not new. Irregular.
No, it's not new. It's not new. It's not new. It's not actually new. Even though the COVID-19 has just compounded the issue. You remember that even before the COVID, the academic staff union was on strike for quite some time, and the students were just beginning their first semester for the 2019-2020.
ASU is still on strike.
And then ASU came on strike again. I know some universities just commenced their first semester in February. And then this COVID came in March. And so it was just like, carryover. So that's the kind of situation we have found us. This, I don't know, it's like, irregular relationships also between government and the staff unions have always created a problem,
So instead of a regular academic calendar, we have, since I became conscious of myself, it's been one strike or the other, and irregular. And I was a victim. At some point when I was in university, we had to do cross program.
Yes.
2 semesters within one semester. A period for one semester.
Yes. Yeah, it's always been happening, and that tells so much about our emphasis on education, the priority of education in our social system, in our public system. I think that is a very, very serious matter, because education should be top of the priority of government and everybody. But it's like we just pay lip service to education in this country, and this lowly rated, and lowly funded, and so it becomes a regular issue of insufficiency all the time, both in terms of staffing, both in terms of funding, in terms of facilities, and so on and so forth. It's all about inadequacies of the system, and so academic staff are fighting to get situation improved, and government is saying we don't have resources all the time, and so it becomes irregular. And when
the irregular becomes regular,
irregular becomes irregular, and when 2 elephants are fighting, of course the students will be the victims.
On the surface, it appears as if it's a problem solely for the public schools, but it may not be, because with the private universities, private tertiary education system operating in the same environment with the public, at some point, the negative effects will rub off on it?
Oh, definitely, because because of the common platforms for instance, admission process. If the public universities are not ready for admissions, it will affect the private universities, NYSC recruitment, and so on and so forth. So it has a ripple effect. It has a knock-on effect. One failure in one sector leads to failure in the other sector. So it's not been easy, and it's not been easy, in the education sector. It's not really fun. It's not really fun.
Now, JAMB initially gave a date for commencement of admission.
Yes,
August
21st of August.
And now there are thoughts of possible change.
Yes, of course, because of the coronavirus, the education sector was like on hold, and so now that the government has given ahead to the students who wrote the JAMB preparing to enter the university and were not able to take their qualifying exam, that is the WAEC and the NECO and all that, and so now they are given opportunity to go and write those exams. They are now waiting, and you can't enter the university unless you write these qualifying exams. And so what it means then is that we must, whether in the public or the private, you must have to wait for these students to take these exams before they can then. And JAMB has also made it that if you don't upload your certificates on site, you will not be able to get admitted into any university. But that's not to say that we have. But remember also that we have a backlog of students who have been wanting to have admissions and
who are done with O-level qualification.
Yes, who have had their O-level and have successively not. So there's an accumulation, of course. So you see, so it's possible to start off with these, the backlog. Okay.
Will it not be a disservice to those that are exiting classes now?
No, it will not be. It will not be, because we are expecting that if for instance, WAEC begins their exams, it might be possible for the result to be out by October. We are supposing October, November, and that's not too late to give admissions.
The exams will end September. Is it 7th or 17th?
Yes,
for WAEC.
Yes, for WAEC.
For
NECO, yes.
And the other ones?
Yes.
So what can I say till the end of the year?
Well, possibly till the end of the year, but that's again, it's still possible to give them those students what we might call late admissions, and so they can come in as late admissions, and then but the universities have now to make provision. I mean, those that are able to admit will now have to make provisions for these students, how to take them on board. I mean, it happens even abroad. Sometimes you have late arrivals, and in many universities abroad it happens, late arrivals, and then they have to readjust programs and then to be able to accommodate these late arrivals. So it happens.
Another option is for the universities to offer admissions based only on JAMB and post-JAMB screening procedure, hoping that the O-levels will be taken care of at the appropriate time. That may be
No. I don't think it will be possible, because if you are admitting somebody, well, call it provisional admission, suppose he doesn't get the required qualification. Suppose it doesn't.
Then those on reserve may come up now to fill up.
Yes, of course. Yeah, that is possible. That is possible, but you have to give people equal chance. Okay, so I think the best thing would be to allow the students, begin the process of admission. Particularly for those of us in the private universities, it's possible to begin with the reserve and then give these new arrivals or these late comers, their opportunity also to be able to have access to university education, when they have eventually secure their results. I think that is possible.
Many people are looking at primary and secondary school education resumption to be from January 2021. Kenya, for instance, has said they are not looking at anything below that. South Africa reopen, resume, and quickly shut down. So possibly a possible January resumption for our schools. And it may not also be far-fetched for the universities and other tertiary education institutions.
Yes, but
if that happens, what impact will it bear on the system, as it were?
Well, I know that private universities like Veritas, we are hoping to resume our lectures by October. In October, what we intend to do is there are options we intend to pursue. First of all, if government does not lift the restrictions on reopening, then we can continue with our online educational system, which we have had
before admissions,
for the other classes, for the other levels. You can begin lectures.
Would that not distort the entire system if second years up commences and the first years are not?
No, the university has to readjust its program to take on board these new candidates as they arrive. Okay, and we've been doing it over time. Okay, we have had experience dealing with that. So what we can do is commence lectures with the older students, the 200 and above. Okay, and whenever these people come on board, you make arrangement for their own lectures to commence. Maybe they may not take the exams, the first semester exams at the same time, but over the period, you need to
run two different calendars.
Yeah, you run
the freshers and the others.
Exactly, you can run two different calendars for the freshers and the other streams in the university.
Is that the suggestion you'll be putting on the table when you go to meet?
Well, yes. That's kind of a suggestion I would like to see. And it's unfortunate that we all have to suffer this coronavirus effect. That students may have to, the schools may have to delay. But always saying also is that we must also take into consideration the fact that a number of countries have also already reopened, and that we are disadvantaged. Nigeria is completely disadvantaged in terms of education, and so we must do a catch-up. We are trying to do a catch-up, and this is very vital for our own, even our own development. So we're expecting that government will take the necessary decisions so that to allow universities, and other streams of other categories of the education system to commence. Taking into consideration, of course, taking the required steps, of course, as outlined by NCDC.
Yes, good plan for the private universities, but when you think of the public institutions, ASU still on strike, NASU threatening strike, then it compounds the problem there.
Yeah. These are things you can. That are not part. You can't say this is part of coronavirus effect. This is a different issue altogether in the equation, and I think
perhaps a perennial problem.
It's a perennial problem, but I think it's important for government to really rethink his emphasis on education. It's
beyond lip service and rhetoric.
Believe me, I think it is absolutely important that government should actually re-evaluate the place of education in our development system, in our development priorities. I think in fact, you see, we fail sometimes to recognize that education is the currency of today and tomorrow. And if you are talking about lifting people out of poverty, the first thing is education. Are you following? And so if you really mean to develop, there's no alternative. There's no alternative. Education must be priority of our budgets. It must be the priority of our development emphasis.
We have to thank you so much, Reverend Father Ichoku, Vice-Chancellor of Veritas University, Abuja, and a Professor of Economics, so that you take our time to catch up with the meeting with JAMB.
Thank you very much.
Heads of other universities in Nigeria will be joining you. We hope a solution will be found at the end of the meeting today.
Thank you very much.
Okay, just to remind you that we'll be having NASU, Non-Academic Staff Union, and the Senior Staff Union of Universities on the next round of our discussion. But first, let's share these news items with you concerning COVID-19 in the country. Of course, the deaths of a prominent Nigerian related to COVID-19, Senator Buruji Kashamu.